Welcome to this edition of FireCAST TV. I'm Brian Oxer, Innovation Coordinator at Paintsville Independent Schools, and we're at Paintsville High School, and we're going to be highlighting the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship that we started this year with our very own students. Enjoy. Brian Oxer, along with a couple more Appalachian Graphic Design Fellows. We got Ethan Blair and Jacob Triplett. And Ethan, tell us a little bit about the blog that you were a part of.
I worked on the project Water, and my graphic designer was Taku Soto, and he only speaks Japanese, which was really neat. And he drew a concept of somebody holding an upside down umbrella because, you know, it would gather water rather than make it run off.
So it was catching water?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Jacob, what blog were you a part of?
I was part of Science blog.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about the Science blog.
The Science blog was created by Marion Bantes. Her art focuses on science. She uses congruent shapes to make abstract art, and her work has been featured in 2 different books, and she has done over 100 shows worldwide, and in many art galleries in places like New York, her art is featured permanently.
You paired up with Blake and Henry, and so you guys worked together as a team. And tell us a little bit about the interview process that you guys went through with your designer and artist.
For our interviews, we went into the school cafeteria and we used an online program, sort of like Skype. Where they were in Europe and we were here, the time zone was very different. It was after school for us and it was early in the morning for them. And it sparked an interesting conversation because we were talking about the different cultures, and me and Blake would say something about their culture over there that we see in the United States. They would have no idea what we were talking about.
Ethan, tell us a little bit about the interview process you had. You were solo, right?
Yep.
You were the only one on your blog. So tell us a little about your artist and your designer.
My designer was Balio, and he got to work with his kids were in and out of the interviews. And we actually had to get a translator because my graphic designer, Mr. Soto, only spoke Japanese.
Yeah, so you had Balio, who was in America.
Yeah,
where was he in? Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Texas, yeah. And then you had your artist who was in Japan, and your translator was in
the United Kingdom.
In the United Kingdom, and you were of course in Kentucky here at school. So, but it was I got to see part of your interview. It looked like you guys had a great time. It was fun, and
it was really fun. There was a lot of laughs, and I figured it would be difficult to have the translator there, and I figured it would take a while, but there wasn't much lagging between questions. And Mr. Soto was very nice, and he said, you know, if I ever make it to Japan one day, to come by his office.
Him up, huh? Yeah. As far as remote work goes, which is one of the reasons that we started the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship, was to give you students an idea of what it's like to maybe be able to work right here in Paintsville, Kentucky, but work for and with people all around the world. So Ethan, after being a part of this, do you see a possibility of maybe you could do a job with international, maybe some kind of international work, but do it right here where we are?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think another advantage of remote work is being with your family. Like Balio has a big hand in raising his 2 children, which I found, that remote work would give you that opportunity.
What did this teach you about remote work? And do you see that ever as a possibility?
Oh yeah, I see it 100% as a possibility because I believe that it is going to be very important in our future, especially with, as Ethan said, with the raising of our families and such, being able to stay with them, but also sustain a good job at home.
Now, one of the things that it's been in common with a lot of our students they've talked about was how much respect that they felt like they received from the designers and the artists. Did you guys feel that way, that they really had a true respect for you guys as students and what you were trying to do with this fellowship?
Yeah, I felt that they were very, they wanted to work around our schedule rather than their own. And they were very interested in where we had came from and what our city was like and our life and just the high school even, and gave us advice on how to better ourselves and be more prepared for our future.
Okay. Jacob?
I believe the same. Our graphic designer, Sarah, she would respond instantly to if we messaged her. It didn't matter what time it was, and she was always willing to work with us to find a time that worked. And she also it could have been a scenario where it was more like she just let it all and she really just had us listen, but instead she wanted us to speak with her, and she wanted to hear our opinions and understand what we knew already and just help us with what we didn't.
Now, also through the fellowship program, we also, as a large group, you guys got to talk with like executives from Mattel, the toy manufacturer, also other graphic designers, other artists out there. So did that show you that it may not just be graphic design, but there's also other job possibilities that do remote work out there besides, even if maybe you didn't want to do graphic design, but now you do have good contacts if you do want to do graphic design. But there are other industries out there as well. Did you get a feel for that a little bit?
Going back to when we were talking about the history and stuff, she asked what we would like to be for a career, and I said I would like to be a historian of some sort. And she just, Sarah began to tell me all of the different possibilities for that field with remote work, whether it be a teacher or a researcher. And then when Blake and Henry also voiced their opinions on what they would like to be, she did the same thing.
All right. Anything else that you guys would like to talk about that you learned from this fellowship?
I encourage anybody who gets this opportunity to take it. Even if you don't want to go into design, you need to know what options you have out. And the idea of remote work is can be very useful.
Again, I agree. I think this program was a wonderful opportunity because the work, like I said, will in the future offer a very big opportunity to towns that are not able to receive much industry. We'll be able to keep the people there and be able to add their name to the international economy and workforce.
That was Jacob Triplett and Ethan Blair, Appalachian Graphic Design Fellows. All right, here we are with Appalachian Graphic Design Fellows, Abby Oxshire and Sonia Williams. Abby, you were a part of the fellowship. What blog did you participate with?
I was on Photo blog.
Okay. And Sonia, what was your blog?
I had Home.
You guys were paired with a graphic designer as well as an artist. So, Abby, tell us a little bit about your designer and artist, who they were, and what your team was like.
Okay, so my artist was Min. She's from Bangkok, Thailand. And then my designer was Mel Choice, and she is in Boston.
Sonia, who were you paired with?
My artist was Michael Beirut, and then my graphic designer was Kel. And Kel did more of like the touch-up work in the background on Home, and Michael did the actual design.
You found out kind of later, though, that Michael Beirut's a pretty big name in design.
Yeah.
Now, when you were interviewing Michael, it was just you and Michael talking on the phone.
Yeah.
But then you found out that he's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, because at first, I did my interview with my graphic designer, Kel, and then later in the week, I got together with Michael Beirut. And when I was doing my research on him and looking up all the stuff that he had done to see also what else he'd done besides Home, I saw that he had partnered with Verizon, he'd done Saks Fifth Avenue. He also recently did his the design campaign for Hillary Clinton, which was really cool to see that somebody as important as who could have possibly been our future president, he was working with them, and how he's such big on a ladder. I mean, he's really famous. I've heard that he's like the Michael Jordan of design. So it was kind of hard to really come up with questions because I was kind of nervous because he was such on a big platform. I didn't want to be like asking stupid questions like, oh, okay, so how did you do this and how did you do that? I feel like he just had so many people that he talked to. I was like, why does he want to talk to me, a senior at Paintsville High School?
But he did want to talk to you, didn't he? And he turned out to be a really nice guy. And one of the things you were asking about was how he came up with design. And he told you about, like, he really kind of written a whole book about it and couldn't really talk about it. But tell us what happened.
So basically, I had watched a couple videos. One of them was about his library initiative. And then I asked him, I was like, so how did you become a partner with this, or how did you become a partner with Saks Fifth Avenue? And I was asking him also other questions about how exactly would you go about becoming an artist and becoming so huge on the ladder. How did he get there? Who did he work with?
He also surprised you at your house.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't show up at your house, but that'd have been a little strange. But
Yeah.
tell us the surprise you got.
I remember it was kind of close to around Christmas time, and I was like, I already ordered everybody's presents, so I don't know why there's a box here with my name on it. So I was kind of nervous to open it. I didn't know what it was. And Brian didn't tell me that he had contacted John Maida and Kel, giving my address. And so I was surprised, and then I opened the box and I was like, it's a book. And so then I looked down and see who wrote it, and it was Michael Beirut, and I was like, he sent me a book. And it was funny because I was just talking to him about what you would do to become a graphic designer, and he sent me the book that he wrote on how to become a graphic designer.
He wrote you a little message in the book?
Yeah, he did. Basically, he was just like wishing me the best for like my career, and like if I ever needed to talk to him or if I ever needed to get in contact with him, that I could.
Yeah, it's neat. Now, Abby, you had a similar story. You were working with Mel and Min, and you guys found some common ground. You had a funny little thing go on during yours. Tell us a little bit about that.
Mel, she was at home, and Min was at home too. It was about 10 o'clock her time. And
10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, 10
and 10 o'clock
here.
Yeah, okay, in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Mel was on her laptop, and her cat walks across her laptop, and then we started talking about cats, and we all have cats, and Min showed us her cat, and he had a smushed face, and he was so cute.
And much like Sonia, you had a surprise waiting for you at home one day.
Yeah, Min, she will do different things. She'll do design on the computer, and then she'll transfer it onto paper. And she'll also incorporate pictures, and so she sent me some of her prints that she did. 3 of them were geometric designs, and then the 4th one was she had taken a picture of an ice cube and enhanced it on her computer and printed it and sent them to me.
Okay. Now, remote work, does that seem like something that you guys could possibly see doing in the future? If not, at least for yourselves, for other people? What's your take on remote work now?
Yeah, I think that it's a great thing that you could also, you could do remote work, and then you could also have a daily job that you go to, and then just come home or stay at work at your daily job and do graphic designs with people over the world, and still have a regular job that you did on the side.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because my biggest thing is I don't like to get up in the morning. And you can ask Abby, I don't get up until like 12 or 1 o'clock. And it would just be really nice to sleep in, because that's how I felt this morning. And so the fact that I'd still be able to do my job and basically stay in bed and not have to go anywhere sounds great.
All right. Is there anything else that you guys would like to say about the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to John Maida and Kel and Michael Beirut for giving us the opportunity and wanting to pair up with a small town in Kentucky, and that I think that if I ever need anything that they would be there.
So that's Abby Oxshire and Sonia Williams, Appalachian Graphic Design Fellows. We're here at Paintsville High School, and we're part of the Appalachian Renaissance Initiative. And as part of that initiative, we've been able to bring a lot of cool programs into our school. And one of the things that we were able to do is make our school a one-to-one school, so that all of our students are able to have a device, and that way they can produce work or do work remotely if they need to. And as part of that, we were able to forge a partnership with Automattic designers, and we developed something we call the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship. And so we want you to learn some more about that while you're here today.
An interesting aspect of remote work is that Balio is not a new father, he's a father of others, but but Balio just had a baby, and what's neat is that when you're remote working, you can stay near your family. How far do you commute every day, Balio?
0, 2 steps from my bedroom to my office.
The idea that, you have to get out of this dead-end place, to go to a larger state, California, New York City. It's becoming less and less of ideal because it's becoming more and more a possibility. And these kind of things that we're being offered is a very good opportunity for us, to learn that this isn't our, leaving isn't our only option.
Because there are actually a lot of remote jobs available, and this was three years ago when I was looking for one. So it's the idea is they don't really track you, they don't ask you where you are all the time. It's mostly you get your work done and there's not a problem. So there's a lot of freedom there. And working for them meant that I wouldn't need to give up any of that freedom to travel all over the place, to do what I wanted, to set my own weird schedule where I play squash in the middle of the day.
Well, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you have all the opportunity that you want in the world.
Design can turn a resource that has no value into value.
Brian Oxshire, Innovation Coordinator here at Paintsville Independent Schools, along with Superintendent David Gibson, talking about the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship that was started back in 2017-2018 school year. It really kind of started in August. First or second day of school, I got a call from Kelly Cheney, one of the deans up at Big Sandy Community Technical College, asking for us to bring a student or two and some administration up for the tech job store. So you and I, along with Superintendent Chuck McClure and our student body president, Wayne Hammonds, we went up and sat in on the meeting, and they were talking about lots of different things. And one of the subjects that came up was that one of the things that we talked about and that you mentioned was that one of our biggest exports was actually our bright students. And so the conversation kind of turned to remote work, and that's when John Maida kind of joined the conversation. And he said, look, I'm a CEO, I've got 650 employees, and I don't have an office. And he said, if you've got good kids, I may have an idea. And then that's kind of what sparked everything.
Yeah, it's really more by happenstance that we're sitting here than anything. We went up to that meeting with Mayo Campus, and Mr. Maida was there. And I always get offended when people start talking about our talent and taking our talent from us. And I think my exact words were, you're poaching our best and brightest. And that's when Mr. Maida made the comment about, he has 600 some employees that work out of their homes with remote work. And the conversation took off from there. Then after the meeting, he approached me and he said, Mr. Gibson, let's talk for a second. And we exchanged phone numbers. And, I told him, I said, the thing about our kids here at Paintsville Independent is we have so much talent, but we have limited resources. We have limited access. And we need to reach out and expand our horizons. And out of that conversation, we just started brainstorming. We text very frequently. I did my research on Mr. Maida, knowing that he was the president of Rhode Island School of Design and from MIT. So I knew his background was very steeped in remote work and in graphic designs. Little did I know that we'd be sitting here today completing the first phase of what I think is one of the more innovative programs that the state of Kentucky's ever seen.
And so our kids were paired up with a graphic designer from Automattic, the company that John works for. Also, they were paired up with an international artist. And so our kids then went on to write a blog post and do interviews about remote work and also about graphic design. And our kids really forged some neat relationships. They built some relationships and learned quite a bit about what it means to work from home, or remote work as John called it most of the time. And so it was a good experience for our kids, and it really opened them up to something maybe that they had maybe heard a little bit about, but they actually got to experience how it works.
Well, and that's like with all things. Until you actually experience the product or the workplace or something, you really don't know what you're getting into. And one of the things that I often like in myself too is kind of like a snowplow on the highway. Our job as administrators and superintendents is to clear the pathway so that we can get people in and get our people access and provide opportunities. And this was an opportunity that was very unique. It came about because of really a need here in our area to rethink industry. I'm a product of the coal fields. My dad was a coal miner for 40 years. I know what that life's like. I'm very proud of that life. But even today, we've got to rethink what our area is, and with technology, the sky's the limit. My days from being in the classroom, I would often talk to my kids about, you can create a career here and never leave your home, whatever that is. And so this was what I consider the first phase in several things that we're getting ready to do at Paintsville High School. And I just think it's an opportunity for our kids to broaden their horizons, to be exposed to different cultures, to different work experiences. And once you expose people, then they're not as afraid to take on the world. And we want our kids to not only have those skills, but we also want to show them that they can stay at home. They can do these things here right in the mountains of eastern Kentucky and become very successful. And I think John and his team was able to get that across to our 15 students that completed the program.
Yeah, I think so. And when you talk with our students, I think they have a real understanding of the power in remote work and the possibilities that are there, and that they can use the talent that they have, to do a job from anywhere. And if they want to stay here, then that's an option for them. Now, some kids are going to they have aspirations to go different places, but some want to stay here, and this is an option to allow them to do that. And I think through this first class of Appalachian Graphic Design Fellows that it's been a good experience for our kids. I think we've learned a lot from it. I think the kids have gained some valuable relationships, some valuable experience. So I think it's something that's benefited our kids, and hopefully it'll benefit students in the future. Absolutely, and once the word's gotten out, I think I've had a lot of conversations, not just with John's program, but through Drexel University. We've been invited to go and visit their campus at some point. Also through the artwork, the design website AIG, their international offices in New York City, and their president has contacted me wanting to set up something here in Paintsville Independent Schools. There's a lot of opportunities that we've just got to be willing to reach out for. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of connections. But one thing I've learned over the course of my career, if you're not willing to ask the tough questions, if you're not really willing to ask the questions, then put the work in to follow up, you're really not going to be able to accomplish anything. And in John, I found a willing partner. We've become fast friends, and I think this is just the first step of what could be a really remarkable program here at Paintsville Independent. And it shows our students that, hey, there's a lot of opportunities here in the mountains. And hopefully they'll stay here and become tax-paying citizens and keep our mountain heritage alive. And, I'm just very thankful that out of happenstance, something really good came about because people were willing to ask the hard questions, but also willing to answer. I think that goes unnoticed a lot of times. It's one thing to ask the tough questions, but to have people that are willing to answer and to put the money where the mouth is really incredible. And John did that. John's, he's on the West Coast, and he has put his money where his mouth is. He rose to the challenge of the hard questions, and I'm very thankful for that. Yeah, and he hooked us up with 8 of his best designers and 8 of the top graphic artists in the world. Not to mention the fact that besides those artists, they also got to work with executives from Mattel. They got to work with the dean from Drexel University, got to take a virtual tour of the lab that they have there. And so a lot of fantastic opportunities and connections our kids made. And so I think that it's safe to say that the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship has been a success. This is the first class. I can't wait to see what we do next year. I can't wait to see what we do in following years. The sky's the limit with this. And yeah, it's been an exciting journey, and it's just getting started. Yep. And thank you for taking the lead on this. I know you've got an investment in this with your kids as well, but you've done a good job with this, and I want to thank you for that. Well, our kids are great, and they make it easy to do. You just point them in the direction, and they take off. And so we're talking about the Appalachian Graphic Design Fellowship here at Paintsville High School at Paintsville Independent Schools. Brian Oxshire, David Gibson. Thank you.